I've been wanting to make this video for a little while, mostly because I am blown away by the power that is accessible for a relatively inexpensive price to anyone who wants to make movies these days. For around $10,000, you can compete with major Hollywood studios producing quality cinema. You can compete with them when they spend $100 million on a movie and you can spend 10 grand to get the tools. Now, of course, ultimately it's about the skill of the filmmaker, and I might get into that in future episodes, but this particular one is about the gear I use, and I'm going to go over each one by one. That's pretty much everything I use. The gist of this setup is that it allows me to not only do what I want to do at a rate that I can afford, because the footprint is so small, because I'm doing the sound and the camera, and I'm the director, and I'm the writer, and usually the primary producer on set. There aren't many of us on set. It's just me and the actors. And what that allows me to do is to go into places that wouldn't otherwise allow filmmakers to film in, because usually they come in with lights and crew and setup, and it messes up people's businesses. I was able to film in Pho 79, the restaurant, which is a Michelin-rated pho restaurant in Garden Grove, while they were open, without disturbing their business. When you do that, you have such a small crew and cast footprint. If you film in New York City and you have a crew of 9 people or less, and you're not obstructing pedestrian or vehicle traffic, you don't need permits. You can film anywhere in the city for free without a permit. This setup allows for that. It allows me to go places I couldn't otherwise go, and to shoot faster so the actors can stay in their emotional moment. It allows me to be way more efficient and do things that Hollywood can't do. So not only am I producing images at the same quality Hollywood does, I'm doing it faster for less money, and I get to places that they have to just dump the money truck on. They'd have to rent out the restaurant, they'd have to get all the permits, they'd have to hire all of the background actors, they'd have to have people to manage all of those things. I don't need any of that. I used to shoot on the Canon 5D Mark II, hacked with this software that allowed me to get a relatively uncompressed video. That was what we filmed Algorithm on, and it's no longer viable. Its resolution maxed out at HD, 1080p. And I started filming on the iPhone for a while. This current video that you're watching was filmed on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. It's my current phone. I would like to get a newer phone, but I'm in economic triage mode, so I'm with the iPhone 13 Pro Max. It shoots well enough to do this stuff, but it's not good enough to do cinema, not at the level that I wanted to, and I felt like I was stuck until Canon released the R5C. This camera is a revolution. The Canon R5C shoots 8K RAW. 8K RAW. That's 16 times the resolution of HD. If I film it in 8K RAW and I export it at 1080p, I can zoom in 1600% with no loss of quality. And this is what that looks like. This video was shot at a concert. I was 5 rows back, about 50 to 60 feet from the artist, on a locked off camera on a tripod, and the end user doesn't know. I use this to cheat, to look like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 camera setups with one camera. Because this camera's dynamic range is amazing, and because I know what look I want, I just position actors the way I want them relative to what's called natural light. There's no lights required. Oh, and it can see in the dark better than we do. Meaning, if I were to shoot outside and the moon is full, I don't need any lights of any kind. I can see everything. 50 millimeter is pretty close to what we actually see. Between 35 and 50 millimeters, what our eyes actually see. So that's what I prefer to film in. Again, a naturalistic, organic look. This is the Canon 35 millimeter RF lens, L lens, with an aperture of 1.4. The other lens I love is this Canon 50 millimeter L. This is a 1.2 aperture. This is the Polar Pro ND filter. I believe it's 6 to 9, meaning 6 to 9 stops down. Everybody and their grandma recommends Angelbird cards. They're amazing. I have 3 512 gig cards because when you're filming 8K RAW, I will use up the space on one of these cards in like 40 minutes. When I first started to gear up for filming algorithm, I got these Sennheiser wireless mics. It's old technology and better stuff is available for cheaper. This is the better stuff. This is the Rode Wireless Pro. It is a kit. It comes with 2 transmitters and 1 receiver that can receive in stereo. The batteries last all day. I got the Wireless Pro setup because for 2 reasons. One, it comes with this case, which you can plug into your computer, and then you get access to both of the transmitters and all of the control software, and it's a charging case. So if you manage to run one of these transmitters or receivers dead, you can just put them back in the case and they will start charging again on the go, which is crazy. Like, that's amazing. Even that would not have been enough to get me to upgrade. What got me to upgrade was called 32-bit floating point audio. That's why I bought these mics. And the price. They're like $250 or $300 for both of them. They also come with the lavaliers so that I can put the mic on an actor and have it basically be invisible. Or they have these cool little onboard mics. If you don't care about things looking good, that mic is great. It's a good mic. Again, 32-bit floating point. You do not have to worry about volume levels anymore. They can record audio on them. So if there's noise from the transmitter to the receiver or from the receiver to my camera, that gets eliminated because you can just pull the audio straight from the transmitter. That's amazing. I prefer a more naturalistic look. You can do handheld. I don't like it. This is my Ronin SC. It is not the best thing for what I do, because this setup can barely hold my camera. It's like right at the outer edge of both the size and of the weight. The one downside of the Canon R5C is that its internal battery lasts maybe 15 minutes. You solve that problem by having an external battery source. This is a battery pack. It has P-tap, which if you're in the film industry, you will learn about very quickly. It is a core. That thing lasts all day. And in a pinch, I can plug my phone into it. I also have a drone. This is the DJI Mini 3, I think. If you see when Libertas comes out, you will see drone footage. It was shot on this. It is 4K, but it's close to the iPhone 4K, which means it's not really 4K. To hide that, I de-res it so that what was an accident became something that looks like it's on purpose. This is what that looks like. This intro, this flying into the house on Libertas, that was shot on the DJI, and I had to practice between the 2 palm trees at the courtyard of my apartment complex, and I crashed it like 7 times to make sure that I didn't crash it into Anne-Marie's sliding window. This is the Mac Mini M1. I think it's got 632 gigs of RAM. This is my old Apple Cinema display, 27-inch. I used to have two, but the Mac Mini only supports one. But the only way to get it to support two monitors is to have the other one be HDMI, which is what this little switch thing is for. And my neighbor gave me this. So this is what I use as my dual monitor because I like editing with two monitors. This is the UGREEN DXP 8800 Plus. The RAID is 120 terabytes, RAID 5, which means any one of the drives can fail and I lose no data. It's 7 20 terabyte drives. I'm waiting to be able to afford the 8th drive. So my theater room is also my bedroom. And my wife is Japanese, so she's awesome and lets us sleep on the floor, which is what I prefer. Don't ask me why. You can ask me why. I'll tell you if you ask. This is the Vizio M60 60-inch monitor. I do not allow it to connect to the internet because you shouldn't connect your TVs to the internet because
the first and probably easiest way into any home network is the TV. All new TVs come with internet-capable software, usually Wi-Fi enabled by default.
This is my Yamaha Atmos processor surround sound audio. These are speakers. These are clip speakers. So that sound system has 5.1 center channel. 0.1 is the subwoofer, which I usually leave off because I have downstairs neighbors and I like them. I like to write in a program called Scrivener by a company called Literature and Latte. It is incredibly inexpensive. It is available on the App Store. It is distributed on every platform. So if you use Scrivener on a Mac like I do, you can share files with someone who also uses it on Windows. And I believe there's also a Linux distribution. That's awesome. This is what the software looks like right here. This is kind of like the folder section or the scene section. I use it for writing novels and screenplays. This is the screenplay for Go Gentle. And each scene is broken up into different little things. You don't have to do it this way, but I like to be organized. Once the scene is kind of doing its thing, you can also go over here and view this as the screenplay format. I prefer dark backgrounds just because that's what I prefer. Or you can go here in these little note cards and basically write a summary of the screenplay or the novel, each chapter or each section that you're working on in these little note cards. In this case, Scrivener did a summary on its own, but I could easily go in here and write exactly what happened here. I'm not going to do that because I don't need to on this project. I'm kind of free-flowing this week, just little clips throughout the week. I want to show you what it's like to actually be me producing Go Gentle, co-producing Go Gentle. I'm working with Calvin Vanderbeek, who's amazing. We're working on the schedule this week, trying to lock down all of the actors and all of the locations. And the entire time I've been planning on filming in this event space, in a co-working space to which I have access. We're planning on filming the last week in April, and I wanted the event space for the 22nd of April in the morning. This morning I reached out to the coordinator, Ronnie, and she said that the event space was booked that day. So for the past 30 minutes, I have been contemplating different spaces to use. Should I contact people with houses and have it film in their houses? We already have access to Matt's house. That would reduce our locations by one, which would be nice. Or should I try and still use another space in the co-working space, which is kind of like a larger meeting room? And that idea felt better to me. Not because Matt's house isn't great, it is, but because one of the things that makes a movie look expensive is a variety of locations. I want there to be that perception. Even though the movie is not expensive, the budget is very low. I told SAG it's about $1,200. I want it to look like it's more. And the way you do that is by having more locations. I just spoke with Ronnie, the coordinator, and she said that the meeting room is available for the morning of the 22nd, which is when we're filming. Now I got to work on the script, add some lines to some of the cameos of the martial arts masters who are showing up and doing cameos in the movie. That's today. Then I have to continue making fake IDs, which I'll show you. To do most of the art that I do, I use a program called Pixelmator Pro. It was like $13 or $14 when I bought it. Now I think it's part of the Apple Creative Bundle that they're trying to create subscriptions for, and I boycott all subscriptions. Anyway, I own Pixelmator Pro. This is what you're seeing. The first step was to get a standard California ID and basically erase all of the data that they have. And I use that for reference so that I know where things look, what things look like, what fonts to use, what size, what scale, all that kind of stuff. And then I remove it and replace it with the information that I want. And that's what this is. Another program that you're not going to see is DaVinci Resolve. It is basically my exclusive video editing software. It's incredibly complex and powerful. It is not trivial to use. Its learning curve is pretty profound, but I think it's worth every moment. And I recommend anybody use it. It is not a subscription fee. They charge one fee, and I think I paid $300 5 or 6 years ago, and they keep making the software better. I'm going to try and add a recipe to each of these videos at the end so I can just share what simple living is like. Simple living does not mean you have to sacrifice quality at all.